Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Rising Q's, where we answer your questions. So we're going to get started here. First up is this question from Evorgs. I can't say this name. Smot. Quote, is the Keystone XL shutdown to blame in any way for the rising cost of fuel? So this is heavily debated, and a lot of people say, yes, of course, we should have energy independence, and Keystone Pipeline would have helped with that. Others say no. This has nothing to do with it. It wasn't going to be operational fast enough anyway, and it's to export most of this kind of dirty oil.
And people pretend like they don't know what OPEC does or OPEC Plus does. It's like there's not a lack of supply. There is abundant supply. In fact, there's so much supply that the oversupply of oil is the biggest risk to the oil industry, because if it were all put online, the price would collapse and it wouldn't be profitable to keep exploring new areas. So OPEC has created a cartel.
Right.
There's an actual cartel that keeps production down. And people pretend on Fox that they don't know about OPEC and that you could magically just go around OPEC, because Keystone puts another 100,000 barrels out on the market. Guess what OPEC does? Whoop. Dials it right back down, makes the same amount of money by producing less.
But I think it's
so people should look up what a cartel is, and then they can answer that question.
Well,
and I'm not talking about Evorg.
Right.
I think that's a question asked in earnest, and a confusion wrought by the clowns on like Fox who pretend that they don't understand how the oil markets work. I don't know. Am I wrong?
No, if we produced so much more oil, then we could make OPEC, in theory, right, less, matter less. But just like a little bit more here and there wouldn't do enough good. We would need to really drill. Really drill.
Right. You'd have to invade Saudi Arabia, take it over.
No, don't we have
and
enough
then blow
oil?
up OPEC.
We have enough oil to support.
We need to
ourselves,
invade Canada, but.
So now we're calling for an invasion of Canada.
Well, I know that's not, I'm not in Poland, so I can't say that.
And by the way, this is Thomas Grove backwards. That's what we're being told.
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah, that's what Evorg Smot
He
is.
tried to hide,
Yeah,
but we found him.
We know who you are, Thomas Grove.
Well, this next one is for me from HalalFlow, who is a Twitter user I interact with sometimes. HalalFlow?
Yeah.
Okay. Doesn't he do clips of, quote, can Robbie explain what he means on his radar that there wasn't any hatred and cancellation going on after 9/11 toward Muslims from the elites, media, politicians, etc.? Well, if I said there was none, obviously I didn't mean that, because there was some, the mosque near the World Trade Center being the most famous example. But I remember, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know how old I was, like 12 when it was happening, but I remember our elites specifically saying that you should not blame all Muslims or retaliate against Muslims for what was going on, what had gone on. George Bush explicitly said that. It was looked, and maybe there were certainly people doing that. I'm sure racism against Islamic people did absolutely increase, like among the people.
Yeah.
But what feels different this time is that actually the elites are demanding that kind of xenophobic treatment of Russians.
Right. Yeah, maybe I could agree with that.
I think there's a slight difference.
I think that is an interesting difference. The Bush administration, or Bush himself, was actually was taking that approach, which contrasts dramatically to Trump's approach. The hostility, the Islamophobia, just writ large, was intense and bubbling. And
it was certainly, but it was a bottom up, less than a top down.
Yeah,
and
right.
The orchestras and those types of institutions were not immune to it, but were trying to remember their better selves.
Right.
But in the face of an intense and overwhelming amount of Islamophobia, which, like you said, led to and there's a great example of it. This just a mosque being built in Manhattan was stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is representative of, and not just unique to, the massive Islamophobia that resulted.
Yeah.
But Bush invaded multiple countries.
Yeah. The bad invasion was planned at the top, but the Islamophobia was more of it was definitely out there, but I don't think it was being promoted to the same degree
Russophobe-
exclusively by the elites.
When I think about it again, I actually think that
Somewhere.
Fox News might have been quite Islamophobic in a a lot of the things that they were saying.
Yeah, and then even as late as 2006, if you remember, Dubai Ports World, bought some shares in some ports in, I think, New Orleans and Baltimore, and Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton, so across the board. So even 5 years later, there was this Islamophobic pushback against the idea that the UAE would be able to own some ports because they're going to smuggle in terrorists into the ports. And so even by then, you had people like Schumer, willing to kind of exploit it. But it is also true that Bush tried to be.
Yeah.
I suppose what I meant is the cultural elites who would have been most against the kind of Islamophobia 20 years ago are now demanding the Russia stuff.
I mean, I understand the difference because what you're saying is that there is a direct call to be more, to exclude.
To be more anti-Russia.
Right, to be more anti-Russia.
Anti-Russian people.
Right. Than to be Islamophobia. But I would say that there was, it's hard to really fully know or remember because there was just so much Islamophobia.
Right, Sikh people were getting attacked all the time.
Right, I mean, just because they were wearing turbans, or I'm not sure if do they call them turbans as well?
I think that's,
but
head
the headdress.
covering, yeah.
So there was just so much of it. It's hard to remember exactly where it was seeping in from. Was it coming from Fox News and maybe some of the rhetoric coming from them saying, we don't want these people in the country, they're going to bring their terrorism over. And
some was coming from liberals too, yeah.
And some of it was. But there was a big push and a big, the rhetoric definitely was, these people are different than us and they have different values than us.
This is just not my recollection. My recollection is it is wrong that was a sentiment that was out there, but you were supposed to resist giving into it. That's what
you were
people were being taught.
Because you were 12. And so you were being taught this by your family.
maybe that's my
teacher.
My experience.
Yeah.
I had a very good education, I guess.
Okay.
But.
So we have another question, right?
Yeah, Blarney Stone Serial asks, which book should people...
I can't. I would not have realized what that was. Blarney Stone Serial. Good.
Which book should people read first? We've Got People, or Tech Panic, or Panic Attack? And when is Kim's book coming out?
Yeah, good question. Once I figure out a topic, you and my literary agent would really like to know. I can tell you that right now.
I want to read Robbie's epilogue when it comes out on paperback, where he's like, actually, YouTube
break up big tech. I've changed my mind.
So wait, did you write, which are these both your books, Tech Panic and Panic Attack?
Yeah.
So you wrote both of those?
Yes.
What's Panic Attack about?
That one was first, and that one was about
colleges, right?
Crazy campus activists, the free speech stuff, cancel culture, that kind of stuff.
I think you should read Ryan's drug book.
Yeah, there you go. That was in 2009. That was an
read
old
that one, and then you'll get a different view of Ryan than you've ever.
Cut.
I am taking suggestions for Panic 3. I don't know what
you're
my
gonna do another
third Panic-related
book.
book.
You have to have a trilogy.
Elizabeth Warren has fight in every
Russia Panic.
Book title of hers. She even had one book that had fight in the title twice. Fighting the Good Fights or something like that. So you got to get Panic in there twice in the title.
Have you written 2 books?
Yeah.
How many have you written?
2.
Which and there was We've Got People, and what's the
it's
other?
called This Is Your Country on Drugs.
Yeah, that's the one you got to read, because then you'll be like, Ryan's got a wild side. Oh.
What do you want to write a book about, Kim? You don't know yet?
I don't know. I mean, seriously, this has been a topic of discussion with, obviously there's been pushes to get me to write something, but I'm not much of a writer. I mean, you guys are writers. I'm a talker.
Didn't
so
the previous hosts of this show basically turned all their radar monologues into a book,
published
right?
that. I published that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I mean, what a great
it seems like we have an easy strategy for the...
Honestly, we are writing these radars. It's so many. It's just an essay a day. So I could, stick that together.
That book hit top 5 on Amazon.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should be doing that.
We should let our agents put a note into, hey, by the way.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll figure out a topic.
It hit at a really unique time. It published right as Bernie was rising in the Iowa polls.
But it was
rising, right as Bernie was rising.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of events, like public events for it, right before the pandemic shut everything down, but they were having sold out events.
Yeah.
There was a sold out event here in Washington for March of 2020 where I was going to host them, and got canceled. And Sagar, I remember saying that there's absolutely no way we are canceling this. These COVID fear mongers are not going to get us.
And
Sagar
yet-
was saying that?
Yeah. But it wasn't up to him. Like
No.
they canceled it on us. So
Well, here we are. 2 years later, we can do those events again.
There you go.
So.
well, anyway, that's it for the Rising Qs. Thanks for all of those questions, and we will see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.